Holy f***. We are less than 2 weeks away from Shadowbringers early access. I can barely contain the excitement. No sarcasm. I'm legit trying to keep it in right now. I'm so pumped. But, apologize for the bleep sensitive. Gotta, juke that YouTube algorithm at the start. But this video is going to be about the live letter 52. Now, I'm not going to cover the entire thing. Even Yoshi P himself said that we're going to get way more information in the actual patch notes, which we will get the day before early access goes live. But I wanted to just go over and give you my thoughts and my opinions about the biggest changes that we saw in the live letter, which is, again, the final peep we're going to hear from Square Enix about Shadowbringers until the day before early access. So let's have a discussion.
I am Razio.
Alright guys, so the first slide I have up is the Titania, however you want to pronounce it. The fight that we saw Yoshi P screwing around with. I thought the music was very, very, very interesting to this fight, and the location and the hints they said that how this arena for the fight is going to change drastically throughout the fight. I found it very, very interesting, and it looks gorgeous. It looks great, of course, as all things in Final Fantasy XIV. The art team always does such an amazing job of making everything look fantastic. Really excited to give this a go. Now, before I go any further, keep in mind that this video is entirely unscripted. It's just me going off the top of my head, my thoughts and feelings about the major points during the live letter. So, if I ramble on about something, apologies in advance. But one thing I do want to point out, throughout this entire presentation, and I pointed this out in other videos, Yoshi P and his team, but especially Yoshi P, you can tell how much they love the game, how much they love their player base, and how excited they are, and how much fun they have playing the game. I mean, look at Yoshi P during the his segments. He had his rotation down on Black Mage, and makes you wonder at other MMOs, World of Warcraft, if the developers even play their game at all anymore, if they even know anything about the game. I mean, could Ian Hazacasas even do anything in the game? Does he know rotations? I don't know. I'm not here to shit on WoW for this video. I'm here to move forward. So, let's go to the next slide. So, we got quite a few system updates. This was very, very interesting to me. Mainly because the UI improvements, I think, are great. The achievement filters will be added to the game. So you'll be able to see, like I said, rambling on. Be able to navigate the achievement menu much easier, filter out things you don't want to look at, things you do, stuff like that. They're adding an achievement watch list function, where you can track up to 30 achievements at a time and your progress on those achievements. Now, me personally, I've never been an achievement chaser in any game. It just doesn't really hold a lot of interest for me. If I get an achievement, great, but it's never something I pursued. But for those of you who are into achievement hunting or completionists, I think this is going to help you quite a bit. Moving on, changes to the mentor certification. Now, I know there's a lot of memes and a lot of jokes going around about mentors, where if you have the mentor icon, it means you're a bad player. Me personally, I think that the mentor badge should be not only have the requirements it has now and the requirements that you can see on the slide here. They're updating it too, but I think it would be beneficial if they locked PvE mentors at least either behind a certain rank of the feast in PvP or behind at least an extreme mode fight, because I've met many mentors that don't know what the fuck they're doing. But again, that's just me. My personal opinion, I don't go for the mentorship because I'll probably never level up a healer, so that's the main reason I'll never meet the requirements. But for this slide video, in this slide in the video, you can see that they've updated the mentor requirements. So if you're a mentor now, you'll stay 1 right when 5.0 hits, but you'll have until 5.2 to reach the new requirements. If you don't, you'll lose your mentorship status. New requirements is level 80 instead of level 70 for the tank healer and DPS. And you must have completed Dungeons Raids Trials combined 1,000 times and must have received 300 player commendations. So the main thing is just getting those jobs to 80. So if you really want to keep your mentorship badge, it shouldn't be difficult to do. Now onward. The next section they talked about was the raid, and I also want to point out that they said they couldn't show very much of the raid at all, which is true, and they also couldn't show probably 60% of the dungeons because they're so heavily tied into spoilers for the story in Shadowbringers, which really got me excited because I've had this feeling, I haven't been this excited for an expansion since Wrath of the Lich King back in the day, and I think this story for Shadowbringers is going to top everything we've seen so far in Final Fantasy XIV, and the fact that they can't show so much content right now because it'll spoil the game is fantastic. So they were really only able to show 3 or 4 dungeons in the dungeon preview, and they could only show small little bits of Eden, which is where the new 8-man and Savage raids will take place. So this is pretty much kind of all we were able to see. The light has overpowered this world so much that it makes animators forget to put textures on on the ground and in the world. No, I'm kidding. It makes everything's burned out, and the whole point of Eden is going to be to get everything to grow back, bringing shadow and life back into this world to get, because this world is literally in the process of being erased by the light. It's so overwhelmed. So this will be really, really interesting. I think it's going to be something we see grow and change over the course of the expansion. Very similar to, I would say, what we did with Doma Castle in Stormblood, though I think it's going to be far more advanced than that, far more in depth than Doma Castle's reconstruction was. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited to start raiding these. I'm a raider and I'm going to be doing Savage content, so I'm really excited to get my feet wet with this content. Moving on, we're going to get more details about the Heroes of the First. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Heroes of the First, they were the Warriors of Darkness that used to be Warriors of Light that came from the First, and we defeated them in the Heavensward expansion. They said we're going to get a lot more information in their backstory, so we're going to get to know these characters far more, even though they're technically not around anymore. They're dead. They were erased, but I think we're going to get... It's going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to see what we get with the storyline. It's going to be kind of a side storyline for the Heroes of the First. That was one of the most intriguing and storylines going on during the Heavensward expansion, so I'm really excited to see what Yoshi P and his team have in store for us with the Heroes of the First. Up next, we have an upcoming schedule or roadmap, if you will, for Shadowbringers launch. As you can see, June 28th is the start of early access. July 2nd is the official release date. July 16th, patch 5.01's release. Normal mode Eden raid will start. So, approximately 2 weeks after official launch. And then July 30th, patch 5.05. We get Savage mode of Eden. The newest tombstones come out. And the Dungeons of Ligia. I think that's how we said it. Gaia, whatever. The introduction to that dungeon set. So there's a lot going on, and again, during this time window, I expect the most amount of changes for job balance, for potency changes, for reworks of jobs and classes. I've already told you my opinions about that if you've ever been into my streams, a couple of my other videos. I think Monk and Scholar and Gunbreaker are probably going to see the most changes during this time period. So if you play one of those jobs, just keep an open mind. Dancer is high on the list as well. So being new jobs, they generally tend to get tweaked quite a bit at the beginning once more people get their hands on them. So just be prepared for that. Also, this is a good sign. Something that a lot of other MMOs can't tout. They're adding new worlds to the European data centers because there's more and more players coming in. And keep in mind, Yoshi P said, and I'll cover this again at the end of the video, that they're getting a ton of players, more than they ever have. So on Tuesday, June 18th, new worlds will be added to the European data centers. One server per data center in Europe. Spriggan and Twintania will be added. So if you're on the European data center and you're on a congested world, there you go. And if you're a new player going to Europe, I'd recommend one of these two worlds because you'll get the experience bonus for being on these worlds. Moving the fuck on. We got a little bit more details on the trust system. I'm not going to go too deep into this, mainly because everything we've seen from the media tour is they pretty much just went over again. But you'll be able to do the main scenario dungeons in 70 to 80 if you're a DPS and you don't want to wait for a queue. It's also a good way to practice on a job you're not used to yet. So you fight alongside NPCs. They showed the window where you can switch between what NPCs you've unlocked for the trust. As the story goes on and throughout the patches, you will unlock more members that you can use in the trust system. You can be any of the roles in your party, tank, DPS, or healer. A variety of NPCs they all have specialized AI, so they'll do different things depending on who you pick. They'll interact with each other differently, and you'll get some little cool story tidbits. Character development if you use the trust system, and depending on the personality of them, will they use a limit break? Will they not? Will they wait for you to try to use it, or will they just go balls deep and just start throwing out limit breaks the second they're up? Depends on who you pick. They did say that playing with other players will remain a more effective strategy for completing these dungeons, and it will also be faster if you're with a good group, half decent group in the 4-man. But rejoice if you've been a DPS for a long time and you were trying to get through the story initially and you don't want to wait for a 30-minute queue or pay a tank a fee to get an instant tank queue, as is common in MMOs. This is for you. Alright, now with crafter adjustments, this is kind of what the highlight for a lot of the live letter, what was pointed out as the highlight, as information we hadn't gotten at all. Now, me personally, I don't craft a ton in Final Fantasy XIV. I do have one max level crafting job and another one on the way, but it's not something I spend a ton of time doing. I will spend more time doing it in Shadowbringers, so I didn't fully understand every single thing that they talked about. I'll be the first to admit it. Crafting has never been like something I do a shitload in games, at any rate, and Final Fantasy XIV's crafting system is so complex and so much further along than any other crafting in any other MMO I've ever played that it's easy to get lost if you don't do it a lot. But the crafter adjustments that they pointed out, new actions are going to be added, obviously. Steady Hand 2 and Beargot's Blessing are going to be added to all the crafting jobs. And recipe aspects will be removed and all related actions consolidated into one. So if you're a crafter and you're watching this video, please, I'm interested to know what you think of the crafting changes. When I watched the live letter live on stream when it came out, and the crafters that were in my chat did say these changes were fantastic, so I'm interested to know your opinion. Additional crafting adjustments. So now this stuff I did recognize. They definitely upgraded the UI for crafting. So you'll see, increases, and it's all based off the assumption of 100% efficiency. In your crafting log, you'll see it displayed, as you can see, on the screen now. As well as the maximum initial quality limit will be raised from 50% to 75% for many 5.0 and later recipes to make high quality items a little easier to synthesize than they are right now. The maximum initial quality for each recipe can be confirmed. The difficulty of obtaining some of the older master recipe books 4, 5, and 6 is going to be reduced, which is good. That just means they're going to cost less scripts to get, less requirements to get, which is good because that is one hell of a grind. I do know that from my leveling up my blacksmith to level cap. Again, here with the crafting UI, we have you're going to be able to track what you've done during your crafting process much easier. Everything is so much cleaner and better, and if you're somebody who's really into, you don't want to see all this, you can move it up so it's more like it used to be. But durability and conditions are going to be easier to see. You're going to be able to see if you're accidentally on collectible synthesis and not on just regular synthesis, which is really good. I've even done that where I've made an item and I didn't realize that I had collectible synthesis turned on, so the item was fucking useless to me. So I think overall, these are all some really, 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 really good changes, just from what I understand. As for more of the system updates, we got new tombstones that are going to come out. That, as it always does in every expansion. This is something I personally wish they'd update a little bit. The endgame system of progression, it could be tweaked a little bit. I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. I think it's better than anything else that's out there. But it could do with some tweaking. But that's just my personal opinion. And the tombstones of Phantasmagoria, it's a mouthful, will be added 4 weeks after the official release of Shadowbringers. The other tombstones, Gotia, I think that's how you say it, Gotia, Geotia, whatever. Fuck my face. Those will be the initial tombstones that will be there right out of the gate. White crafters and gatherers scripts will be added for the crafting jobs. This is another big change. Glamour dresser's capacity is being doubled. So that's fucking awesome. Instead of just having 200 items as a possible items for your glamour, you can have 400. And we're getting 5 more glamour plates. You can make 5 more glamour outfits to switch between, which is really, really, really cool. And the furnishing preview, which you can see him utilizing here, is going to make the setting of objects in your personal housing, outdoor, indoor, much easier, much better, and much smoother and faster. So, as someone who's designed my entire FC's, furnishings in our housing, this is something I wish we would have had earlier. But I love the housing changes. Final Fantasy XIV has so many in-depth systems, and housing is just one of them. Which a lot of MMOs these days don't even have housing at all, let alone housing that's as deep as it gets in Final Fantasy XIV. So let's move on to the next slide now. Some other very, very awesome changes that got me and a lot of other people pumped up is the Centurio seal limit will be increased from 1,000 to 4,000. That's huge. Nothing was a bigger pain than capping out at 1,000 and then having to spend it and then go back and then having to spend it and then go back. Having uneven numbers of seals for purchases. Now we're going to have up to 4,000. In addition, now you're going to actually be able to sense B rank marks and above when they're in the area. So the hunt in the open world, as Yoshi's pointing out, and making the open world more relevant with the changes they've done to fates. You're going to be able to see right in your chat window if you sense something that spawned to the north, or if you move too far away from it, you can't sense it. And when S ranks spawn, it'll say you sense the presence of a powerful mark. So I think that's going to make the hunt for people on the actual server a little easier, and kind of reduce the problem of jumping from world to world to take hunts from other servers. I think it's going to work out much better this way, and it's going to make when you're out exploring and doing questing and stuff, it's going to make it more exciting, in my personal opinion. Some additional UI changes. We have system updates to the retainer window. So as you can see, the retainer window is much, much, much cleaner now. I think this is great. You can see how much gil, without having to click through all the menus, how much gil every one of your retainers has, how full their inventory is, what job and class they are. You don't have to click through all these different fucking menu windows anymore to see this stuff. You can see the status of their current venture, how many items are up for sale. So, yeah, I think this is an outstanding change. Again, I've just been nothing but impressed with the updates that they've been doing just to the UI for Shadowbringers. It's going to be great. Material melding requests can now be sent in succession. So if you want melds done by a higher level player, a player that has the job maxed out that you don't, it's going to be much faster, much simpler, and much easier to do it now. And speaking of materia, they did say that they teased about whether or not there's going to be materia higher than level 6, which is currently the highest in the game. In Shadowbringers, I'm 99.9% sure there will be. It wouldn't make much sense if they kept level 6 materia. The stats, the amount of points on each stat on materia right now isn't going to be relevant, isn't going to be good enough to change what your build actually functions like if it stayed that way going into Shadowbringers with higher level, higher HP, higher numbers anyway. So there's going to be fucking level 7 materia, maybe even level 8, we'll have to see. Now all mounts have flying enabled. I know this is a bit of suspension of disbelief, but come on guys, it's a fucking video game. Now, if you have your favorite mount that was always just a ground mount in the past, that's no longer in the past. Every mount you have in the game can fly if you're in a zone that has flying and you've unlocked flying. So I think this is a great change. I'm completely fine with it. What's your opinion about it, though? I'm interested to know. And finally, as I said at the beginning, we're going to have a live patch note reading from Yoshi P and a special guest, the voice actor who voice acts Bankred, the day before the early access begins. So the Yoshi P is going to go over the notes with everybody live, as you can see here, Thursday, June 27th, 2019 at 1900 hours Japanese Standard Time. I don't know what that translates to in American United States time right now or European time. I'll have to look into that. But I'm sure it'll be posted in the on the Lodestone if you're interested in watching that. I will be watching it. I might even live stream it since I've taken the whole week off to play Final Fantasy XIV live on Twitch when early access starts, so we can all sit together in a queue. Which I wanted to bring this up. Yoshi P did say in the presentation to keep in mind it might be a good idea to world transfer, not server transfer, not pay money, but use the world transfer function if you're on a congested world for the initial launch onto a less congested world, so you can get through the quest problem, the quest without any lag. And they've done so much to make sure the whole Raban incident from the Stormblood release doesn't happen again. There's not going to be any cutscene choke points like there was in that got people stuck and overloaded the servers. He again thoroughly apologized that happened at all. There are queuing systems in place to prevent that when there are quests that require you to go into a personalized instance and things like that. But he said to make it as smooth as possible, try to log out on a non-congested world before the early access starts, just so you can make life easier for yourself. Anyway, guys, I'm really interested to know what your opinions are about the final live letter that we're going to get before Shadowbringers. The next live letter we get is going to be after the launch. So I'm really interested to see what you guys think about the changes to crafting, especially if you're a deep crafter. I'd like to know your thoughts. What jobs you guys going to main? What are you going into? What are your hopes and dreams and aspirations for Shadowbringers? What are your fears? And most of all, what's your hype level? As I said earlier, I generally don't get hyped on game launches. I'm always erring on the side of caution. I'm always ready to get fucked in the ass by a company, but not when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV. They haven't disappointed me yet. You can hear my dog scratching and jingling his little fucking chain. Hey, calm down. And he just choked. Anyway, but for this, I've been as stoked as I was before Wrath of the Lich King launch. That's how I felt before this. I haven't felt this amped up and hyped for an expansion for any MMO since all the way back then. So, are you the same? Are you different? Let me know. Also, you'll see it down on the screen. Make sure to follow me on Twitch if you're interested in watching me for live streaming. Thursday nights are usually a lot of fun. We get drunk and play around, and we have a really, really good time. And you're always welcome to come in. New players are welcome to come in, ask me questions. I don't bite too hard. So come in and say hi if you want to. If not, that's fucking fine too. If you're not into Twitch, cool. No pressure. But anyway, guys, this has been Raziel. Shadowbringers is right around the corner. As always, keep it real.